What is going on, Comic Fam? It's your boy, the Bearded Comic Bro, and I am joined by comic creator Kyle Starks. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me back. It's always exciting to be back, to be welcome back.
Yeah, look, you didn't mess it up the first time, so you're back.
Thank goodness. That's a perennial concern.
Before we hop into some of your new stuff, what was it like? I want to touch real quick on Peacemaker because I know the trade
Yeah,
just came out recently.
yeah, I get it. It's good.
Yeah, pick it up for sure. It's so good. Where was it for you of trying to find your voice of who you wanted Peacemaker to be for this series?
Oh, I mean, that's easy. You want it to be as close to the James Gunn show as possible. The Peacemaker is a moderately interesting origin story for me, I guess. I That summer was a great summer. Peacemaker and Reacher season one was very much Kyle Stark's television. I like big tough guys doing big tough guy things with like a little bit of heart to them. I had a peer actually tweet out, I just enjoyed watching the shows. I love James Gunn. I think he's the best version of me in many ways. To do funny spectacle action that has heart to it, I think he's so good at it. But a peer tweeted, "Hey DC, why isn't there a Peacemaker? Why isn't there a James Gunn Peacemaker comic? And why isn't Kyle Starks doing it?" And I never, but I was like, man, I would hit a home run on that, because it's kind of what I already do. Big dummies fighting and trying to find themselves, you know. So I retweeted it, and they reached out to me, which is not how it works. It's not how you get jobs in comics, but it worked for me one time. And at one point in time, there was a conversation where they said, "What do you like? What do you think it should be?" And it's like it should be as close to the James Gunn thing as we're allowed to do. Um, One, because I knew I would do a good job at it because it's what I do. Um, and two, give the people what they want, man. I wanted more Peacemaker TV show. Like, why would I not? So the voice of that, it's kind of like when they asked me to do Rick and Morty.
Mhm.
Is that it's the same? Like it's very much in my wheelhouse of like for that it's sci-fi tropes, and I don't do a lot of sci-fi tropes, but it's about family, and there's sort of these plays on tropes and these sort of deeper sort of familiar family interactions that really interest me because it's so there's heart at the base of it. So it's kind of the same thing, man. It's just like it's what I already do. Um, so it was great. That's the
Yeah.
answer to that.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that like that's your thing. Like I recently just read your
Oh, the
Mickey
first
Thunder.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
the very first
Talk
one.
about big dudes who like to beat up stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think if you there's that's that and Sex Castle. Sex Castle is not a big tough guy, but it's sort of the same thing.
Yeah.
But you see, like Big Dummy trying to make it is something that's pretty common, even if it's a side character or because I think that's me. I think that's most of us. We're just kind of big dummies making it through. So, Peacemaker is just a natural fit. I love Peacemaker. He's a very modern character,
Mhm.
um, and I don't think there's a lot of that. So I'm glad that that got entered into sort of the greater DC universe.
Yeah. Is if DC wanted to tell more in that universe, is that something you'd be like, yes, I'd love to? Or are you like, I've told my Peacemaker story?
I think I told a really good one, but I do really like the character,
Yeah.
and there's something about comfort for
Yeah.
things like that. Um, for the fan base that I've had, at one point in time, they'd always ask like when Sex Castle 2, and it's like that's the story, man. Like that's
Right.
when Assassination 2. It's like, well, that's the story. Though, if any of these things were made into a TV show or a movie, suddenly there would be another one, right?
Right.
Because I'm not dumb, and I love those characters, but I also feel like a story should have a beginning, middle, and end. I think Peacemaker had that, but it's comfort, man. Like
Yeah.
it's comfort, and superhero stuff is ongoing. Like it's not finite, and so I think that's part of sort of the mosaic of telling stories with those characters. So I would do Peacemaker again. Black Label is sort of wants to be one and done's. So I don't
Yeah.
know if it would happen again. I would say sales would probably dictate all of that.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, Peacemaker is a character I feel like I could comfortably write for a long time just because it's so in my wheelhouse. It's just so in my wheelhouse.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, it's one of those tough balances sometimes as like fans too of we appreciate something that you've created so much or like, oh, we want more,
Sure.
but it also is like you as a writer, like, well, no, this is a story. I'm glad you like it, but this is the story I wanted to tell.
I think it's for me because I get that. Like I said, I when they asked about Peacemaker, I was like, there should be more Peacemaker, and that's what I'm going to do. But I think for me, like, it's like that's the best story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the best story. There's some exceptions to that when we talk about Karate Prom. I'll probably tap in on that a little bit because
Okay,
that was kind of a thing where I did something. I'll do it now. Who cares?
go for it.
So over the pandemic, there was no free comic book day. There was kind of nothing, and I pandemic was hard, man. And so I was like, I'm gonna do something for free comic book day because I think the fans need it. Um, and so I was like, hey, Twitter, send me titles and I'll pick one and I'll make a comic book based off that. And Karate Prom obviously was the winner. And so I did like I can't remember the length. It was either 32 or 36 pages, and I did it in 10 days. I was gonna do like an 8-page comic, but like I fell in love with these characters. And I did the story I wanted, beginning, middle, end. It's Karate Prom. But
Yeah,
after I was done with that, it brought me so much joy to draw and write something again because I hadn't done it for a while, and something about doing it during the pandemic when it was so the weight of everything was so
yeah,
heavy. I did two more. I did, and I didn't release them. Like they were just mine, and I was like, I'll figure out what to do with them later. So sometimes that first story which is the story to
yeah.
me, could be the part of a larger story. And with issue sizes, issue what's the word I like run size
Right, yeah, yeah,
shrinking with the publishers want. I mean, it's kind of how you have to think about things more now. Like Where Monsters Lie is a great example where that's 4 tight issues. It's perfect to me. I love I'm so proud of it. I think I'm gonna love that book forever. But I could do more. I set it up so I could do more. Um, and there's something about how I think with these 4-issue runs that the publishers want, it changes how you can think about story. The thing with Karate Prom or Legend of Ricky Thunder or Sex Castle or Kill Them All. It's like that was mine. I can do whatever I want. I'll take as long as I want.
right.
And there's a lot of freedom in that. But the market's complicated.
Yeah. Well, and it almost is one of those things too of like you said, it's a perfect way to end it as a writer, as a creative, because you want people wanting more. You don't want them to be like, oh, they should have wrapped up this comic a while ago.
For sure. And I think I like a finite thing because I can do anything can happen to those characters.
Yeah.
I think if it's probably, I mean, 2024, like I said, it's a lot of 4-issue runs, man. That's just the
Yeah.
nature of the sort of economy of the industry, where you go, well, I can kill that guy in issue 4. Like the stakes are everyone's at risk. It's not Spider-Man, it's not IP, it's not Hellboy. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's no this guy needs to stick around for there to be more money, and I've never enjoyed that. I never. I say this outside of a sitcom. I don't think there's a show that I loved going 10 seasons. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like I don't know. It's just like repetition of a form, and I like stories. I like beginning, middles, and ends. And that's not to say that those 9-season shows don't have stories, but it's like it changes a lot. It changes
Right.
too much. Give me I want the thing as a thing because I'm too simple. I'm too dumb. But yeah, you totally want people to have more. Your hope as a creator is that they go, I'll get the next thing, and hopefully it scratches the same itch. Which I think for me, it would scratch a similar itch,
Yeah.
um, and hopefully people like it the same.
Yeah. Well, and there's truth to that because I started to discover your stuff a couple years ago, and Assassination Nations, Six Sidekicks of Trigger Keaton, like, and I really fell into love what you were doing, and you've quickly become one of the writers that if I see your name on a book, I'm pulling it, I'm getting it, I'm checking it
Stop
out.
it.
I'm
No,
serious, like
it's
and
crazy.
and because of that, when I saw Boom putting out Pine and Merrimac, I was like, oh, let's go. So I want to talk about that because in the midst of
Yeah.
what we're recording, 3 issues have come out. We got 2 more to still figure out. Where was the idea for this story that you wanted to tell?
Yeah. So Pine and Merrimac is about a married couple solving cozy crimes in a cute little town. She's an ex homicide detective who found that she hated murder. So she had to get out of being a homicide detective, and her husband is an ex MMA professional MMA fighter, and he's what I've been told is called a wife guy. He loves his wife; they're great. Um, and basically, the story is each issue gets worse. What seems like a small little thing will get worse each issue. I had this idea for a while, but I couldn't figure out basically Parker and Linear what the solution was. Like once I figured out who Parker and Linear was, but I had this idea for a while of basically this cozy mystery that kept getting worse and worse and worse, and I really liked it. And it's gone through a couple iterations that didn't quite work. But after I Hate This Place, which is very much about two people who love the hell out of each other, which I love. I love people who love each other. I'm crazy about it, and I'm more crazy about putting them in awful, dangerous situations. Um, but I found like I'm really endeared, and I always have been because I think like I only know I'm happily married. I love my wife, but I know one couple who like are always inviting to people, and they clearly just adore each other, and it's like it's the most magical thing. And I'm sure it's not always perfect for them, whoever they are. I'm sure I only get the best version, but there's something about those types of people that it's so rare and it's so magical. And so I really like sort of putting happy relationships out into the world, because I think we draw drama and entertainment from sort of bad relationships, and I feel like that's a bad precedent. I think we should see. I'm about all about representation in all of its forms. Let's get the good stuff out there.
Yeah.
Let's get people on screen. So basically, Boom, not in so many words, but it was like we really like I hate this place. Like, what is something? What would be? And this was sort of the emotional. This is sort of the spiritual successor in many ways. I hate this place because once again, it's about two people who love each other, who are in awful danger, and like, what do you do? Like, how? What can you do? Um, so that's sort of the idea. Once I figured out like I wanted to do that couple, that type of couple again, it opened everything up. Like the whole thing just flew. Also, Fran Galan, who I did a creep show, who I did a creep show story with, um, is the best, and he wanted to work with me again, and I will work with that guy for as long as he lets me work with him. I think he's amazing. So
Yeah.
he was, and he's a that. Honestly, I say this sincerely, and we Boom had a big marketing thing, and I kept saying it, is that this book wouldn't work without Fran, because it's such a slow burn to start. You have to be engaged. Um, One of the marketing people was like, "Oh, it's kind of like Hitchcock's Vertigo," and I'm like, "Yeah." Imagine trying to sell Hitchcock's Vertigo in 2024. Imagine what the trailer looks like, where nothing happens for an hour and 15 minutes, basically. Um, and so Fran, like once the second book gets in, I think you kind of it starts to get a little momentum. And the first one's like, here are these characters, they're great. But without Fran, it'd be a tough sell. He's so good. His acting is so good. Uh, Dude, I think he's so ace. I can't wait for him to be stolen away by like Grant Morrison and Mark Millar and make
Right.
huge money. While I'm like, hey pal, remember we can do
Remember
one
me?
more. Yeah, let's do one more, friend. Um, but I had a 2024. I think was like a murderer's row of great artists for me, and I've only had good luck with artists. I say Schweitzer, Erica Henderson. I've only worked with like really good artists. The last year with Artyom Topolin wrapping up I Hate This Place, Steve Pugh on Peacemaker, uh, uh, Chess Hervis on Marvel Unleashed is unbelievable. His dude, no one. I don't know who tagged him to draw the dog book, but dude, he's too good to be drawing the dog book. And even Fernando Passerin, who did my Wild Dog thing for Brave and the Bold, is so good. I was so lucky. Um, Peter Kowalski on Where Monsters Lie is a professional's professional. I'd work with him over and over too. Just like a great year of artists. Like I say, like Fran's good though. Fran's really good.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what's so funny is how you described the story was exactly how I read it. That first issue, I didn't know what to expect. I'm reading it. I'm like, oh, you have crafted a really good job at investing in relationships that we care about. Like you said, I hate this place. Now you're seeing it in Pine and Merrimac, and you're like, oh, it's going to be one of those like, oh, detective solves an murder, and then issue two comes, you're like, oh, you're stepping up the stakes. I was like, okay, and then at issue three came, I'm like, oh, we're stepping up even. I'm just like, you just love taking these beautiful people and just throwing them into just pure chaos.
Yeah. Well, I'm so character driven, and I think the stories I first backing it up. I think the thing is like as a creative like uh gosh, some words you just say make you sound like an asshole, but I think as someone who does this for a living,
Yeah.
like you have certain responsibilities, and one is to be entertaining, obviously, but I think for me, I always endeavor to sort of put the thing in the world that I wish existed. Legend of Ricky Thunder is a good one. I can read that now and go, the art's rough, but I go, that's a good story. I made the thing that I wish existed at the time, and I'm still me. Um, and like I like characters. Like I like characters more than anything else. So my stuff is very character driven, and I think you want to either, for my stuff to date, it's been you want to spend time with these people because you like them, and you want to be around them. Not all of them, um, and sometimes you want to be with these characters because they're awful, and you want to see something bad happen to them. Less and less, I think of like Chad Fingerman and Assassination.
Right.
Sometimes you're like, these guys suck, and you just want to see something bad happen to them. But I think that's important because I think like I don't know if I am I'm not an intricate storyteller. No one's going to be like, let me tell you the plot of this thing. It's insane. They're just not going to do that. That's not the type of writer I am. It's not the type of storyteller. But I want it to be entertaining, and I want people to like these people, or to like to be around these people. Because I have things down the pike where it's like sort of unlikable characters as the main character, and I generally don't like those, um, because there's exceptions. But whenever it's like, oh, no one in this show is likable, and you're like, oh, that's why it's great. I'm like, that's not for me. I don't want to be around people who are unlikable. But if they have an arc, I'm sort of in for it. So I'm sort of trying a thing where maybe some unlikable characters are sort of the mains or near the mains more. Um, but yeah, so that's the thing is like,
Yeah.
but also I think for horror, for me, especially because comics are so hard. There's no jump scares. There's no music. You don't see things change the way you do. Like you can't do the same things. So a good trick is, oh, these people are great. I like these too. And then it's like, well, I hope that guy with the sword doesn't, the skull face man with the sword or whatever doesn't chop them up. I hope the demon doesn't eat their children. It's good shorthand to kind of make people be more invested. But I want to be invested. I don't want to write a character I don't like. That's no fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, yep,
Well,
that's
and
my thing. And likable characters and do awful things to them.
but they are likable characters. Like you have Parker, who is this, he dotes on his wife,
Nice
and
guy.
and he's one of those is like, listen, as soon as you attack her, I'm just gonna crush you. I'm gonna punch you in the face and dominate. And they have such like a cute relationship too of like you've seen throughout the issues of like where they're like, oh, I got this for you, little things like little trinkets, and it brings
I'll,
you
I'll
into that
treasure it
character.
always.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
Linnea says I'll treasure it always. Yeah, I like that's the thing is like those, a good couple. It, um, Gabby and Trudy, and I hate this place, have banter. Like they have
yeah,
charming banter, but everyone in a couple has like a bit or multiple bits. And so like this is we're having a lifetime, and I think in a later issue you see the first. I got this for you. Um, it's just so funny to me. Um, it's just a charming little like we all have little bits, and I like it. That issue one, he gives her a drawing of a eagle holding a hot dog. I drew that. I drew that eagle holding a hot dog. I'm so proud of myself. I'm so proud of myself for getting a drawing
were
of
you
an
like,
eagle.
Fran, will you draw this? And Fran's like, no, you got to do that one.
No, I drew it. I said, please put this in. I was like, please put this in. I was more surprised that Fran's such a pro that he wasn't like, it doesn't really line up. Like I draw really good. This is dumb. But so yeah, no, I just like, man, I love them. I love Lydia and Parker. Um, and I love Gabby and Trudy. I love most of them. If we're gonna be honest, like I don't think I have a character that I'm like, meh. There's some of the ensemble ones maybe that are lesser than.
Right.
Um, but like even those, like your assassin, like, and some of that is because editorial, our space, our unfortunate space, that type of thing, where
Yeah.
characters just lose stuff that they had before. But even the characters who are a little lesser than, to me, I knew had an arc. Like that arc was still there, so they could have been stronger. But for the most part, I like all of them. I like all my
As you
guys and girls.
as you should.
But Lenny and Parker are good. Lenny and Parker are good.
They're
Gabby
really
and
good.
Trudy are really good.
Those,
Um, so I'm pretty pleased with it. I'm really pleased with finding Merrimac. I guess, even just for the Fran Galan art
yeah.
alone, it's worth picking up.
It's
Uh, but I'm really proud. As like we're wrapping it up, I'm getting final art in now, and I I I. You want to say I think I made something great, but it's like I think like I did the job. You know what I mean?
yeah.
We did the job. We made a really entertaining 5-issue series. Will there be more? Guess what decides that? Sales decide that. Sales
Right.
decide everything. But I can't wait for issue 4 to come out. And Pine and Merrimack's not one of those things like with Peacemaker. There's for certain, even I hate this place. There was sort of like I would get like sort of internet conversations about it every now and then. And Pine and Merrimack, that hasn't really happened, which I'm surprised after issue 3. There
Mm.
wasn't. There's a flashback. I'm surprised there wasn't more conversation about at the beginning. So I don't really get that, which is sad because you kind of want to see like real time reactions. Probably at a certain level of success, you don't want to see that anymore. But I sort of like I'm doing certain things, and I love to see like a reaction to it, right?
Yeah.
Even Peacemaker, I thought, I think, oh, the thing with Michael the Bee, the people are going to be talking about, and there wasn't. So it's like you go, oh, I guess people just aren't reading it, or they aren't talking about it. I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
sales numbers. It's not my concern. Um,
Right.
but
But
issue 4 is a banger.
well, I'll be talking with you then. Issue
I
more.
hope I hope it doesn't get worse.
Oh man. Oh, that's well, but you do a good job too of crafting those characters, like you mentioned, flashbacks and things like that. But you start to see how good of a detective, she was in this process, and how she's like, oh, it's because of this and this, and then she throws up though because she can't stomach murder,
Yeah,
and
yeah, we love
it
it.
and so it helps develop the character along. I could talk to you all day about Pine and Merrimack, but you've got a couple other things that are coming
It's
out
good.
that
Pine Marin's good. Check it out. Go to
yeah,
your shop. They won't have issue one. I think issue one sold out. They might have a reprint.
yeah, get it if you can, and you're gonna enjoy it. If not, shame on you. But you mentioned a little bit already. Karate Prom is coming out in May.
Karate Prom. It comes out in May.
Yes, looks so good. So you kind of talked about how it came about through the pandemic, and letting people on Twitter vote. But what kind of is the premise for this story that you're telling?
Like man, like I said, I let people. I had a bunch of good titles. This was the best one, and in this situation, the title was dictated. Chris Schweitzer, by the way, who colored the book, came up with the title. That seems like it was rigged, but you can't. Karate Prom is such a good title. Um, uh, you kind of let it decide what it is, which I liked. I like a lot. I think Karate Prom, part of what, and I did a follow up the next year. I did another free comic book thing called Louise Sprouse Stole My Heart, and I have 2 hours to get it back. Also, a title that was voted on by Luke Herr did it. That's on my Gumroad, I think. If you want to read it, pay what you want. And it's the same thing where it's like there's the thing that's great for me, especially as sort of again things you say that make me feel like an asshole. As my star rises, I feel like the pressure as more people read the pressure of the responsibility to make a good thing rises
Yeah.
for me, which makes it harder. The great thing about sort of these two ideas is there was no pressure. It's called Karate Prom. You know what it's going to be. You know what I mean? Like what the thing, like it wasn't being published. It wasn't. People weren't paying for it. And for me, when I started, I never thought anyone was going to pay money to read these things. I was just making them because I love making them, and there's a freedom and a relief that I think I do better. Where Old Head is another one. Old Head is a book I love. Um, I love Old Head. I couldn't explain it to you without spoilers or with it making it sound like something you would want to read, which is tough. Um, but it's like that's a great book. There was no pressure. It's called
Yeah.
Old Head. You know what I mean? It's called Old Head. It's about an ex basketball player fighting Dracula's head. I don't know. But like it since there's no pressure, I get to do whatever I want. I don't sweat it. I don't worry about the editor going, whatever the hell editors say. Are like, am I overworking the artist? Because the artist is me. I'll do whatever the page needs within the realm of my limited ability. So um the idea came as that someone says a karate prom and I tried to figure out what a karate prom was. It was
Yeah.
really easy. And then it's the same as we've been talking about because it's how are these two characters, which is Don the Dragon Wilson Jones, that's his full name, and Sam, how do you make them likable and charming and not feel cloying because they're teens? To not make it feel cloying or condescending and or fake or I don't know. And that's a challenge. Um, I think I nailed it, honestly. If I'm gonna, I think they're really charming. I love them. I loved them so much when I did those 30 whatever it was pages. Like I did 90 more privately for me because it's like, well, what's after karate prom? Karate after prom, obviously, and what's after karate after prom? Karate graduation, obviously. Um, and I feel like that probably is their arc. You know what I mean? Um, and in the book, we do that. I would my one of my favorite things in film is where are they now at the end? You know what I mean? I love where are they now so much, and so I sort of I kind of it's out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, I I feel like in some ways this book sort of saved my life, and that's hyperbolic. But the pandemic was rough. I was doing 26 to 30 shows a year. Like I'm on the road 2 weekends a month, and not that being gone hurt. Comics was not so much in a weird, but it's like, what are we doing? Are we still making comics? That was rough.
Yeah.
Um, and May, I think May would have been when I did it, or late April. Like we're 2 to 3 months into the shutdown, right? Into the shutdown. And I have kids. I have little kids, and you just think, oh my God, what's the world? And so all that sort of played into it. I love it. I just reread it because I got the comps. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And you spend so much time on things. Sometimes everyone who's ever made anything will be like three-quarters of the way you hate it. I never felt that way, but I'm so far away from a year of doing production stuff with a publisher on a finished book, which was weird. That's neither here nor there. Um, it changes your opinion of things.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be this far away and look at it again and go, no, I think it's really good. Like I texted Schweitzer. Schweitzer loves it. Schweitzer's he's my best friend and he's my biggest fan. I don't know if he's my biggest fan, but he seems like he's way up there. And he adores it. And he keeps saying, he's like, oh, it's so good, it's so good. And I read it, but it's like I reread it and I'm like, man, it's exactly what I want it to be. It's exactly what I wanted to be in the world. And like that's the best feeling. And as a creator, it's like that's the best feeling. So there's something about the freedom of like how did I come across that idea? It's called karate prom. The
It,
idea the
it,
idea is there.
you know,
I'm gonna tell Louis Sprouse. Louis Sprouse stole my heart, and I have two. It was a much harder story to come up with in terms of like what's that story. For what it's worth, I think it's also one of my best things. It's on my Gumroad. But yeah, karate prom, man. Karate prom.
so you said you created in the pandemic. Was now I thought I saw Erica Henderson attached to this one as well. Is that correct or no? Okay.
No,
Okay.
no. The only thing Eric and I ever did was assassination.
Okay.
I'm let me make sure that's right. Well, some stuff for Squirrel Girl. That doesn't really count, but
So good.
no, but Erica's the best. I love
Yeah.
Erica. Would
Yeah.
work with again anytime. Erica from like Assassination is such an interesting window. I met Erica at my first convention I tabled. We sat next to each other. She had Prince. I had Ricky Thunder. Like we weren't anything. And then the
Yeah.
next year, I think this is right. I had Sex Castle as a Kickstarter. She was doing like monkey brain stuff. So it's like, oh, well, look, we're getting work. And then the next year, I hope this is right. My time is that I had Sex Castle was Image, and she
Yeah.
was doing Squirrel Girl. So we were both like moving up. Sort of, hers was just like a much steeper ramp up. You know what I mean? And it really was just we wanted to work together. We like the same things. We have similar aesthetics of the types of films we like, and it was just a window. You know, she didn't want to be pigeonholed because she'd done Jughead and
Right.
Squirrel Girl, and so what if we did like a hyper violent? It just worked out. I would work with Erica in a heartbeat. I adore her. I think she's masterful. I think she's incredibly underrated. Even when we were doing that, people were like too cartoony. It's like, oh, you're dumb. You don't know what good art looks like. You don't know what good storytelling or composition is because Erica. We did do that Anthology X follow up, which was great. The Anthology X follow up for Assassination, like it was so nice to sort of like to touch base again.
Yeah.
And to sort of dip into those characters. That's another one. Was like I was like, yeah, that's kind of the story, but again, could I write fucking Day forever? I probably could because they're delightful. Like they're delightful. But no, only the one thing. Eric and I have only done the one thing. Would love to do again. This was I mean, I drew this at home. You know what I mean? Like I drew it at home. I think Erica's done. She does covers for everything. She's the best. We love Erica.
Yeah, so good. Last but not least, then, actually, I reached out to you about talking. We had talked at Lexington Comic Con last month, and in that time frame between reaching out to you and this interview, it got announced that you are going to be writing in the world of Minor Threats now.
I am.
How did that come about? Because that is one of my favorite universes Jordan and Patton have created.
First of all, I love that first series. I think it's so much fun. It's so smart. I love that sort of. I love when people sort of pastiche things. I think everybody does. I think we all love it. Again, this is another example of how no one ever gets a job. Patton and Jordan were on a podcast that I'm on pretty frequently, and they were like, "We would love to get Kyle Starks." And I did not listen to that episode. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm busy.
Get it?
And I was getting these like texts. They're like, "Oh, Patton Oswalt was talking about you on this podcast," and I'm like, "Whatever, who cares?" Like, and they're like, "Oh no, they want you to do things." I'm like, "They're just naming names. Like, it's not a thing." But I'm doing Dark Horse stuff. I'm doing Where Monsters Lie, and it's the same editor. And the editor was he's like, "Hey, have you heard?" And I'm like, "No, like, what is it?" And basically the gist was they have this background character in Minor Threats who's only seen at the lower layer, I think,
Yeah.
which is just this wingless fly with a punk rock jacket on. And I guess through sort of people are talking about their books, they hear it, not mine. I'm not on those Reddit forums where they're talking about mine, but that's not sour grapes. And I guess people were like sort of digging this like, guy who would just show up every now and then. And they named him Shit Eater because he's a fly. And Pat and Jordan were like, we're doing these spinoffs. That Tim Seeley, all the alternates was great.
Yeah.
It was really really good. Um, the Minor Threat, it's all really good. And they're like, hey, we have this character we want to do something with. We don't know what it is. And I was like, let me think on it. And I gave him a pitch because I thought on it, and I was like, this is the story that I would like again because that's the sort of North Star you use. And they were like, it's great, it's great. And so that's it. So my dog is freaking out.
You're fine.
So I mean, that's the long and short of it. Patton, when we had those meetings after he was like, I want to do these, and I don't know how true this is now. It's true for when he spoke to me. He's like, I want to do these spinoffs like I do my stand-up posters where I find the artists I like and let them do what they do because I like their work. So they've been very hands-off outside of they know their universe far better than I do.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna tell you, like, I was like, this is gonna be great. This is fun. I like this character. I like this idea, which is again, that's what matters to me more than it's so and so's thing. Like that doesn't mean it doesn't mean anything to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but when they were like, I don't remember how it happened. I know the editor told me and Jordan and Pat at the same time that somehow Ryan Brown was available. Dude, I'm from the Midwest. Ryan's from the Midwest. He's a good Chicago boy, and I'm a good Indiana boy. I've known him a long time. We have mutual friends. This band called Murder by Death. We both done a lot of stuff for it. He's done more because they're Chicago. I've known Ryan for a long time. I've known him since God Hates Astronaut, since Blast Furnace. Um, I think when we talk about the successfully funny people in comics, you can't leave his name. You can't.
Yeah.
Um, he is relentlessly good at what he does. So mind blowing. I'm stoked. Like I'm super stoked because I think he's so talented. I didn't think we'd ever work together, honestly. Um, you can't put two really funny people together because it's going to break something, I think. And I'll
Yeah.
tell you, like what he brings on issue one, it's I say things again. It's not hyperbolic, man. It's next level. His degree of creativity is so high. Every panel has an Easter egg in it. Every panel has four great jokes in it. Not four, but what he brings is
Yeah.
just like, and there's this thing as I'm a cartoonist. I started as a cartoonist, which means I wrote and drew my own stuff, and I've very much shifted into being a writer more than anything else, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think very much in that these guys are working for a paycheck. Like it's my thing, but they're working for a paycheck. I don't want to overwork them, and um, dude. But once you see what people do, kind of that first issue is like, oh, now I know what their strengths are and their weaknesses are. Dude, it's so relentless that I going into two, you go, do you give him more? Like, do I set up more bit? I don't know because it's like I'm just gonna do the story, but it's for that book more than anything else that I felt in like a investment's not the right word, but I have concerns. Like if it's not good, it's someone else's
Right.
thing, and yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Ryan's so good. I'm not worried. Like I have no fear because it's just like Pine and Merrimac. Like worst case scenario, people are gonna go, but the art though, yeah, the art is it's un. I can't. He's coloring it too. It's unbelievable. And to work with some like it's so. And I think I was like, dude, these Easter eggs, like these Easter eggs. He's like, yeah, I might run out. You might have to help me out with them. And I'm like, he's not going to run out. Like this is just something he's got. And it makes me envious to have
Yeah.
that degree of sort of relentless creativity where it's just like I don't love gag. That's not. I think it's sort of low hanging fruit in many ways. But the way he does it, it's just like clever Easter egg on top of clever
Mhm.
Easter egg. And I wish I could be like let me tell you about this. Once you see issue one, like make sure you look at it. It's so good. Like after issue one, we're like, we could do so much merch off of just the nonsense he puts in the background. Uh, It's really good. It's really I'm really honored that it's it's nice. It's cool that it's Pat and Jordan.
Yeah,
Obviously, they're super cool. They're famous. There's nothing. There's no greater compliment to me than someone being like, "Oh, I like your work. I like the things that you've made." Because that's what we make it for, right? I mean, we make it for people to enjoy. So it was if it was anyone really that was going to pay me, um, it's such an honor that they're like, we want this guy to do it. It's
yeah,
just such an honor, and that's not been my career until like right now in many ways, right? Um, which is DC. I feel like Marvel, Marvel Unleashed, I think is one of the best things I've ever done. No one read it for sure. No one read it. I think it's one of the best things that I did, but I think Marvel. I don't know if they just saw my. I don't know why they picked me to do it. I don't know why. Why would you put the character-driven adult action violent guy on the dog book? You know what I love dogs. That's the short. Listen, he loves dogs. But, you know, DC's giving me Peacemaker. DC's giving me Harlequin. I feel like they get who
yeah.
I am. Um, but this is like it's like it's so nice that people are like, oh, we like what you do. Come and do the thing that you do. Because that's really as a creative person, as a storyteller, that's all you want.
Yeah. I love the fact that this is a character that literally is, to my knowledge too, was just sitting in the background all throughout that first volume. And you say read the first issue, look for Easter eggs. After finding out about that, like I went
You
back
have to
and I
go
was
back.
reading, and I'm looking, I'm like, that little booger's all over the place, but doesn't say
Yeah, I think I'm blanking on Scott. What's the artist's name on? Do you
Scott
know?
Hepburn, right?
Hepburn. I think he has a couple bits. Like I didn't notice. I mean I read it. But I don't. I'm not a poor over art guy. I'm just not. A clarity of storytelling is
Yep.
what I want. Um, but there's other things like I guess like all the cats in Twilight City have extremely long tails. There's certain things that I've found out since I'm working on this book. Like there's little things that Scott did, and Ryan for sure is like, oh, all the cats have long tails, then so be it. So I was like, why do they have long tails? And there's like, only Scott knows. Only Scott knows. I'm like, awesome. I love it.
So good. Uh, well, Kyle, I could talk to you forever, but I want to respect your time. Before we go, I do want to tell people, if y'all aren't signed up for the coolest thing ever,
Oh my gosh.
you got to
No,
join the
hey,
sticker
sticker
club.
club.
You got to join the sticker club. I found out about last time I had you on the show, and I'm just sad that it took me this long to find out about that long to find out about it.
Sticker club's pretty cool. Sticker club was started over another thing that started over the pandemic because there weren't shows anymore. Actually, that's not even true. I'll tell you. So his sticker club is here's what my sticker club is for $5 a month, no tax, flat. On my Patreon, which is the best place to do it, or through my store, which is couchdarks.com. I send out 2 stickers every month. It's $5, no matter where you are. If you're overseas, it's still $5. It's $5 flat. Um, and the reason why I started it is because when I was doing all these shows pre-pandemic, I was bringing Rick and Morty single issues that for $5 would sell. They would always sell, but that's a bunch of space. Like, and I was trying to figure out how I could have something people might want that took up less space. And so I was only going to do like superheroes. I was like, oh, I'll have all these superhero stickers. And I think I started with like Doom Patrol, and then I did Blue and Gold, and then the pandemic happened. And I was like, well, I just want to draw what I want to draw now. So I started doing, you know, Trimmers and Total Recall, Pee Wee's Play. It sort of turned this thing, and I, it's been great. Hey, I'm really proud of Pee Wee's. Those are good stickers,
It
man.
was so good.
Um, look how good they are. Sometimes they're really good, and sometimes they're fine. Um, and I think I've been doing it, I guess like 3 years now. Like there's a lot. I have a lot of stickers.
Yeah.
And I take them to shows, and I sort of have to rotate, and some sell better than others, and some never sell, which is fine. That's usually the ones I like the most. Um, but yeah, it's $5 this month is almost over, but for April, it's I'm so far behind because of a lot of different things. Um, what was last month? Last month was Kurt Russell. It was 2 Kurt Russells. It was McCready and the Thing and Snake Plissken. This month is Bloodsport. All right, it's Jean Claude Van Damme and Bully Young. What's next month? I don't know. I got to figure it out. And I do a thing on my Patreon, which is why Patreon's better. Is I'll do polls. Like I let people vote because sometimes I'm like right now I'm just too busy
Yeah.
or I have no ideas. Um, and I don't want to do anything I don't want to do. So like things like if I don't know what it is, like I'm not doing. My wife is like, you should do Supernatural stickers. I'm like, I don't know anything about Supernatural. They're like, oh, you should do Star Wars stickers. I'm like, I don't know anything about Star Wars. art. I do, but I don't like it. So people come up and they're like, "Oh, Supernatural." I'm like, I don't know. I hate that. It's so disingenuous. Like I can't be that dude, even for money.
Right.
I love Sticker Club. I think it's nice. It's a good way to support an artist working. The artist is me. I think because you get something sort of monthly. Matt Kent does postcards. I just think it's a nice thing. It's a nice way to interact, a nice way to support someone so they can keep sort of making
Yeah.
whatever they want to make. Yeah, that's KyleStarks.com, or go to my Patreon, which is Patreon.
Well, I feel
Kyle
like I need to
Starks.
cancel the KyleStarks.com one and go to the Patreon so I can start to vote.
Patreon's better, and I'll tell you, like, this is inside baseball, but the Squarespace interface is not great. Like, if you have an address change, you have to cancel. Like, you can't just change your address on it. So Squarespace, listen, has been great for a store in many ways. But the Patreon, like, I just did a very long post on how I made like a page 7 of one of the pages of Where Monsters Lie that had character drawings I did and script, and I don't do a lot of that stuff because it's hard to do that type of things when you're writing things. Like I can't be like, let me show you like 2 pages from my new script, because it's like, that's not, who cares. I used to do like a lot of like live draws, so it's trying to engage. It's trying to engage and figuring that out. And Patreon's sort of always a moving wall, but the Sticker Club, I love it. I mostly love doing it when I have ideas.
Well,
So
I gotta join the Patreon then so I can give
come
you
to the
my
Patreon,
obscure
but
ideas.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm about to do another poll. I'm real close to it. I think it's like, I always have like 4 ideas. Like I have the 4 ideas that I'm just waiting for the right time. And it's like, I don't want to blow them. So it's like, man, I don't know what to do. It's like, I could always do X, right? I could always do this one idea. And I'm
Right.
like, no, I want to save that.
It's so good.
I want to save it. Right? We love Sticker Club.
Yep.
I think it's a really good deal. If you like pop culture or superhero stickers, I think it's fun. If you like action movies,
Yep.
I think it's good. I do a lot of action movies, probably.
And
Or
even
like, I just did Tucker and Dale versus Evil. You know what I mean?
so
Um,
good.
yeah, and that's like, these are the best ones. I do Tucker and Dale versus Evil, and I get a lot of, I don't know who that is, and I'm like, oh well, let me tell you, which is great for me, but also it's like, listen, sometimes it's just what I like, and I'm gonna tell you on that regards, like I withhold. Like there's a TV show I love called The Grinder. I'm not gonna do a Grinder sticker set because no one would know what it is. But I'm always sort of like there's certain stuff, like the things that I do like. I go, well, no one knows. I did Taskmaster, which is a British sort of game show. I don't know. Taskmaster was great. No one knew what it was. No one. They're like, what is it? I'm like, it's Taskmaster. Go watch it.
I appreciate it because it did. It makes me go like, what is this? Like I had never watched.
Hey, Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. It's
I
so
never
good.
watched that show until you, and I'm like, I loved it. It was great.
It's so good. Garth Marenghi's Dark Place though is one. It's like, I think people generally know that one. They generally know that. Not as many people. It's a
Yeah.
but that's a great one. Everyone knows Matt Berry right now, so it's a good time to sort of like hit Matt Berry. But yeah, Sticker Club's good. They're reprinting Rock Candy Mountain as a collection this summer. I'm very excited about that. If you never read it, it's how it should have been. It should have been one volume all along. It's going to have all of the back matter from the single issues. So that's cool. That's the only other thing that's been announced. Those are the only things that have been announced. I have a bunch of stuff. I have like 3 things being wrapped up right now, and that's not including like stuff I'm about to start that I think will be announced soon. And it's cool.
I can't wait. And gang, anything that we talked about, Patreon or the website, links are all in the description of this video, or if you're listening on podcast, you can check out the description there as well. But as always, go check out Pine Merrimac, get Karate Prom, put Barfly on your pull list, and join the Sticker Club, gang. Like, come on.
Join the Sticker Club. Get some stickers.
That's right. Kyle, thanks so much for taking some time to just talk about comics with me.
Yeah, man, we love it. We love talking comics. We love talking about the work. It's good times. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So with that being said, gang, hopefully you can find some time to curl up, grab a book, and nerd out.